Hi guys, welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. I'm Nduku Kiteng'e and I'm holding fort for a few days to give Wakeji a break, and we're going through the book of Ruth. So if you haven't been here, I suggest you go back to the channel and look at our intro and chapter 1 and chapter 2 so that you can flow with the book. It's been so interesting so far, and right now we're in the middle of summer, which is an exciting time where these people are from. So I'll read through chapter 3 and then share a bit of what I've learned from it, some key takeaways, and leave us with a question to think about at the end of that. So hope you stay on board. All right, chapter 3. Oh, sorry, I'll be reading from the NLT version. Keep forgetting to share that. So one day, Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, it's time that I found a permanent home for you, so that you will be provided for. Boaz is a close relative of ours, and he's been very kind by letting you gather grain with his young women. Tonight, he will be winnowing barley at the threshing floor. Now do as I tell you. Take a bath, put on perfume, and dress in your nicest clothes. Then go to the threshing floor, but don't let Boaz see you until he has finished eating and drinking. Be sure to notice where he lies down. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down there. He will tell you what to do." "I will do everything you say," Ruth replied. So she went down to the threshing floor that night and followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. After Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he lay down at the far end of the pile of grain and went to sleep. Then Ruth came quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up. Around midnight, in verse 8, around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up and turned over. He was surprised to find a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner of your covering over me, for you are my family redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," Boaz exclaimed. "You're showing even more family loyalty now than you did before, for you have not gone after a young man, whether rich or poor. Now don't worry about a thing, my daughter. I will do what is necessary, for everyone in town knows you're a virtuous woman. But while it is true that I am one of your family redeemers, there is another man who is more closely related to you than I am. Stay here tonight, and in the morning I will talk to him. If he is willing to redeem you, very well, let him marry you. But if he is not willing, then as surely as the Lord lives, I will redeem you myself. Now lie down here until morning." So Ruth lay at Boaz's feet until the morning, but she got up before it was light enough for people to recognize each other. For Boaz had said, "No one must know that a woman was here at the threshing floor." Then Boaz said to her, "Bring your cloak and spread it out." He measured 6 scoops of barley into the cloak and placed it on her back. Then he returned to the town. When Ruth went back to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "What happened, my daughter?" Ruth told Naomi everything Boaz had done for her, and she added, "He gave me these 6 scoops of barley and said, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said to her, "Just be patient until we hear what happens. The man won't rest until he has settled things today." Each chapter of Ruth just takes my breath away. In this one, we see Naomi, who has cared for Ruth. She cared for Ruth and Orpah before. She desired that they be married. She desired that they be settled. And she knew that because they had been married to her children for over a decade, that this wasn't going to be an easy thing. But here was Boaz, an older guy who was so kind to her and who had seen her, who God had presented Ruth to. He had presented Ruth to Boaz. So the thing I love about this chapter is that it teaches something that I don't know if we do of late. And that is Naomi, knowing her culture, knowing her people, knowing where she was married, asked Ruth to do exactly as she said when it came to presenting herself to Boaz. This brings about an aspect of mentorship. That's what it brought out for me. So as a project manager or a coordinator, I've done a lot of work, and one of the things has been developing some mentorship programs for a client. And you realize that it's so easy to think that we can do everything by ourselves. But as we've seen in Ruth chapter 2, community plays a big role in where we are presented and where we are. Community also plays a big role in how we show up in spaces. If you don't know a new culture, for example, and you try and go there by yourself, you will suffer. Here, Naomi uses her strengths, being born of the children of Israel, having lived in Bethlehem, and knowing her husband's family, to help Ruth set herself up in a space that would be for her benefit and not for her harm. Remember in chapter 2, she shared with her, like, if you go to that home, I know you will be safe, because she knew Boaz's character as someone who would protect her. In this one, she tells Ruth, exactly what she needs to do to get Boaz's attention in a way that doesn't bring shame to Ruth and doesn't bring shame to Boaz. And the question for me was, who are the people in my life who I ask for guidance when I'm going into a new space? And that's something to think about. Over and above that, and this is something I need to learn, she tells Ruth exactly how to dress and how to show up for this particular engagement at the threshing floor. She asks her in verse 3, take a bath, put on perfume, and dress in your nicest clothes before you go to the threshing floor. And I feel like it's very easy to take an advantage of a space if you're not showing up in the way you're being called to. Now, this is an area of a struggle for me. And I remember the first time reading this as I was preparing for the study, I was like, do I really have to? Do I really have to show up? But there's something about presentation. And because when you're showing up, when you're dressing up, when you're being in your best self, so your best clothes, people notice you. And as we've seen before, when people notice, they also speak about you. And so there's an importance to how you present yourself. There's an importance to how you present yourself in your family, how you present yourself in your marketplace, wherever your area of influence is, how you present yourself even in your relationship, dating, marriage. Those things are important, and often we take them for granted, especially after we've been in a space for long. Please don't be those people. Let's try and learn from these lessons, because it is because of that she found favor with this man. So we've seen mentorship, we've seen showing up. And for me, if you're seeing a pattern, this chapter actually stood out for me more for the workplace than it did for relationships. Oftentimes, we run blind in that area where we're not asking for direction, or we don't know where to start when you're asking for direction. We don't follow it. We see Ruth followed it directly, and we don't show up. So it challenged me. Am I taking direction from people above me? Am I showing up? And am I being present? Am I listening and obeying the people that are around me? We fast forward, and Boaz respects Ruth through the process. I mean, this could have gone any other way. Threshing floor at midnight, guys. It could have gone any way. Boaz would have taken advantage of her, or something could have happened. We never know. But he respected her. He respected her and he honored her. He respected her so much that he knew that he couldn't be the one to redeem her, but he made a point to acknowledge her because she saw him in his older age, and she didn't run for the young people. And he respected that she was respectful to him because she did what Naomi had asked her to do. And so when I see that, I see order, I see protocol, I see rules, I see ways that have been established that help communities to work together. I mean, that could be in your workplace if there are certain sets of standards and rules and policies that work there. How do you adhere to them? How do you use them for your benefit? How do you keep the order that they have been set? Same way in your family or in your life. How do you respect the rules of the land? How do you respect the rules as a citizen of Kenya? How do you honor the rules that have been set before you? Because it will go well with you when you do that. Yeah? And at the end, we see Boaz blessing her. He asks her to bring him a cloak, and he gives her barley, and he protects her. He asks her to leave before there's any word of a rumor that has happened. I find that to be honoring. And so that leaves me with that question of honor. Lastly, and this is something that I've glossed over in the previous times I've read this book, when Boaz says he will go and do these things, it wasn't something that was going to happen overnight. But Naomi's guidance to Ruth was, just be patient, my daughter, until we hear what happens. And I know how that can be unnerving when you've been vulnerable, you've set yourself in front of someone. Now moving back to the relationship track, when you've presented yourself to someone, or they have seen you, and then you've been vulnerable, because this was an act of vulnerability. She was in a place where she wasn't meant to be. The men were threshing the barley at night. That's not a common place for a woman to be found in. So she braved herself. She was vulnerable before him. And so there's that anxiety of, so what's going to happen? Did I just mess up? What if people start saying I was these things? I mean, he told me to leave early because he was trying to protect me, but what if someone saw me? Are you seeing the anxiety loop here? So it's also gotten me anxious. But Naomi's words, similar to the start, where she was guiding her exactly what to do, she guided her to a place of stillness, a place of patience, to hear what will happen. And because she knew the character of Boaz, she knew that he would not be a man to delay her. He would not be a man who would keep her waiting for too long. She just needed to trust that he would be there for her. Guys, this chapter is just wow on many fronts, and it really challenges me to think about who are those people that I look up to, who are the people that I trust, and when they tell me something, I'll do exactly what they say and things will be well with me. Do you have that person in your life? Think about it. If you don't, start praying for one, because there'll always be someone who knows information that can help you be better where you're at. Be better in your family, as a better child or a better sister, sibling, brother. Can teach you to be better in your workplace, and finding the right people that can guide you in that, can teach you in your relationships that are starting or that are going on, and how to be present in that. And that's both platonic, your friendships, or dating leading to marriage. I find that we very easily want to seclude ourselves, especially when you're starting to see someone. you start to seclude yourself because you don't want people's voices in that. But I'd like to offer a counter argument. What if you had people that you trust, that are for your good, who you walk with through every journey? Ruth said every single thing that happened to her with Boaz to Naomi, and Naomi was able to guide her into a space where she could trust and be safe. So instead of thinking you have to figure this out on your own, why not start including people around you that you can trust? Just a question. If you like this, you like what we're saying, and you like going through the book of Ruth, we have just one more chapter, just one more day. So I look forward to seeing you there. Like, subscribe, share, you know the drill, and see you tomorrow. Bye.